You know, the great irony of this is that we've got some of the greatest drivers in the world and the greatest motorsports endeavor in the world, and the worst driver in the world coming here. So my great apologies for being late. I pride myself on being on time. I actually ran the last 5 blocks, so if I start to sweat profusely, it's not that I'm nervous. It's just that I'm old, fat, and wearing a suit. But thank you all very much for coming, and it's yeah, it's going to be a great event today. We're going to boogie through it, F1 speed, but we're going to get a lot out. We'll get some of your questions, so I'll shut up. Let's get to it. Graham Loden and Robert Fernley, come on out here, guys. You know who they are, obviously. Graham, businessman, entrepreneur. You know, we've got the heads of a couple great teams here. I think up and coming teams, both of them, and maybe we'll win this. I think we're going to win it. We're going to guarantee victory in one of the GPs this year, guys. Absolutely. Yes or no? I had Paul DeResta on my show on CNBC today, and I asked him, I said, are you guaranteeing victory in Austin? And he sounded pretty cocky. He sounded pretty confident, Bob.
Absolutely.
I'm kidding. He hedged it well. But thank you very much for coming in, and we'll have a great event here. You know, and it's fun, too, as a business journalist, too, because I know you guys are really excellent businessmen as well. It's not just about motorsports. It's about Wi-Fi on trains and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So thanks very much.
You've done your research, haven't you?
I've done a little bit there at Sheffield University. It's okay. You get an MBA, by the way, which is sort of part of what I would like.
And look where you end up with one of them.
You know what? I think a lot of people in the audience would like to be in your position. I would like to be in your position. Let's switch spots for a week. I guarantee you a last place finish. All right. So
manage that.
Bob, I want to begin with you. This is a sport that the pace of change is mind-blowing. And what I love about it as a business guy and as an amateur racer myself is it exemplifies business globally today so well because you've got to be able to move on your feet. You've got to be able to make changes every year, new rules, new directions, changes on the fly. What is the single most difficult aspect of your job and in really running, being the CEO effectively of a Formula One team?
I think, well, it's a combination of things, really, because you're challenged on all fronts. So you have the technology side, you have the commercial side, you have the media, promotional side. I mean, there isn't one element. All of them are challenging you all at the same time. So I think you've got to look at it from the point of view that it's moving at such a speed, as you rightly say. So 1 minute you've got a change in direction, mid-season through on regulations that you've got to adapt to. Then, of course, you've got the economy changes, so you've got the commercial elements to it. Media is always developing, especially social media programs today. How do we adapt those? You've got people that, unfortunately, are steam-driven like me that still don't do Twitter. And so, you've got a number of things that are challenging you, but it's across the board. And that's what I think makes F1 so exhilarating from that point of view.
How do you spend most of your day? What's your average day like? Not a race day, not a race weekend, but I mean an average day for you.
Yeah, I'd like to think, get up about 10-ish, go to the beach.
Right.
No, I mean...
In-season day.
In-season day? Well, I mean, first of all, our travel schedules are, are unbelievable. So we're either at the factory or we're traveling. There isn't really a time off. I mean, I don't know about Graham, but I mean, it just merges really for the whole season. Yeah. So you have to look at your leisure, if you like, being what you're doing in terms of your occupation. It all has to merge in because there isn't any spare time for anything else.
When does your day end? What time, generally?
For me, normally 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, maybe.
And begin at what time?
Well, it can begin, because obviously we're Indian owned. It starts pretty early because they're up 4 hours before us. so any time from 7 o'clock.
That is a long day.
But that's a normal day, I think.
That's a normal day for you guys, and that's one of the reasons I asked. Is Graham? I mean, listen. Well, first of all, how many people here would like to be involved in an F1 team? Work for an F1 team? Look at that. Okay, engineering graduate student, got his MBA.
Yeah.
All right, and you've done what those folks would like to do, even though they're hearing the hours that Bob just outlined. Yeah. So how do they go from here to where you're sitting?
Oh, it takes one thing, and it's just commitment. Because you asked what characterizes Formula One, and the key thing about Formula One is, if you had to sum it up in one word, in particular for a team like ours, Formula One is relentless. It will not wait for you. And so if you have a task, whatever that task is, you've got a challenge on the performance of the car, or you're looking to develop some new drivers or whatever, you can't ring Bernie up and say, I know we're supposed to race in Monaco next week, but can you just push it back a week? Because,
can you get to Petra at least? Can you reach Petra or no? Can you reach Bernie?
So it's relentless, so it takes a lot of energy and a lot of commitment. But it can, this is proof that it can be done. I started as a engineering graduate, as you say, and then set up a Formula Renault team, which, for those not familiar with Formula Renault, it's a junior formula, and then moved through into Formula 3. And then in 2009, when the FIA were looking to increase the grid, they opened the doors, if you like, to Formula 1, and we made that really big step. There were probably about 20 or 30 teams that applied for a position on the grid, and we were one of the 3 teams lucky enough to get that. But then we had, from a standing start, 6 months to go from Formula 3 team to a Formula 1 team. And we knew the first Grand Prix in 2010 would be in Bahrain in March, and nobody was going to move it, and we had to be there. So we had to design a car, build a car, hire all the people, build a factory. It was a proper piece of work.
So can I ask you just a sort of a...
In fact, I'll just say I envy Bob's hours, because he's in the more established team. So, my God, he's really got it easy.
Well, I guess this next question, based on that, maybe this next question would be good for both of you, but are you insane? Why would you want to make the jump from Formula 3 to Formula 1, dealing with all the rules, the 3 weeks, the headaches, the travel, the massive budget, the searching for money? Why?
Well, that's so easy to answer. It's exactly the reason why all these people are in this room. And there's nobody in Formula 1 who doesn't have a passion for what I think is the greatest sport in the world. And I hope that's why the people are here as well. And so that's what pushes you to do what in cold hard analysis does look somewhat insane. But you do it because you love the sport, you love the history, you love the challenge. It's the greatest team sport in the world. The guys will get a chance to meet the drivers later on. The drivers are the heroes, but this is a team sport, and every team has got hundreds of people working in the background to make the car go quicker, and service all the needs of the partners and sponsors and everything. And you can't do it if you just turned up with 2 drivers. They'd sit and look at the car. You need 47 people to start the thing, and so.
Well, we all know these drivers. They can't change the tire, right?
Some of them are pretty good.
They can't hear me anyway, can they? Okay. And he brings up a good point. And all the folks, Bob, that were raising their hands, I'd like to be a part. And obviously, Graham's got an engineering degree, and we think engineering is probably the best way to get into the sport. We know there's communications folks. What are some of the other avenues, besides being a superb auto engineer, mechanical engineer, or being a communications pro, that can get people involved in Formula 1 from a team perspective? What kind of skills does Sahara Force India look for?
I think there are many avenues on it, but clearly when you're looking at the top line management, which is what you're referring to at the moment, you can come from a number of disciplines, really, the commercial side, the engineering side. You need an understanding of all. I think the hardest thing today in Formula 1 is that we have become very corporate. As Graham said, we employ, as a small team, we employ 300 and something people. And, that means that you've got a whole number of disciplines. When I started off, in Formula 1, a whole race team is what we take away today. So, there's a whole different process. So therefore, your learning, your immersion into Formula 1 and the disciplines of it came from experience of being within it. Today, you tend to be a bit more specialized. So to be able to get the broad vision across the top, you've really got to make sure that you have access to all departments and that you take an interest in all those. Anybody that's aspiring to it, clearly engineering is one way, but the commercial side is another way.
I'm going to open the floor for questions in just a second, but I've got same question for each of you, which is no doubt going to get you in trouble with Bernie, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm always in trouble with Bernie, so I
Oh,
wouldn't worry
that's
about
good.
that.
That's right. And that's easy to do, from what I understand. Bob, you are now Bernie Eccleston for a day.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You need some expensive real estate for your daughters.
Yeah.
Come on, don't owe that. That's fine. It's true. $88 million. She's 22. What's wrong with that? That's $4 million for every year she's been around. What is the one or the only change you would make in Formula One right now if you had total authority to do it? One change you'd do.
I think we'd have to look at the relationship going forward between media incomes and promoter incomes. And I think that's where I would look at. I'm staying away a little bit from the team side. As Bernie, I certainly don't want to pay the teams. So, from my point of view, I think you need to look at how you're going to get the balance for the future in terms of making sure the promoters can stay on board, and yet you can generate the incomes through better
More
leveraging.
equitable distribution.
Well, no, you see, I'm Bernie. I can't possibly do that.
Well, he didn't become the richest man in England by not being a great businessman.
Now, if you want me to switch back to Bob Fernley, I can say to you, I desperately want it.
What's the change that you would make?
I guess, well, looking at a different part to what Bob's highlighted. Which
And let me phrase it. You're Bernie,
I'm Bernie again.
but with Graham's goals.
Excellent.
Okay.
Right. Well, this is going to be great.
You'd add 1,000 kilos to McLaren.
No. Well, I'll tell you what I'd do is I would focus on cost control. So less on the revenue side. The revenue side of Formula One PLC, if you like, I would hope will always reflect how exciting the racing is and how much interest it has with the fans. And I guess my view is that if, as a sport, we make sure that this is not an arms race, but instead there is a limit on the resources that can be used, you then get the cleverest engineers, the cleverest people. You come up with the best solutions. You promote innovation within a team, because a spending fest, if you like, is not clever. This idea of a fire hose where you just pump money into it and you win all the races. Well, so what? I think, and I'd be I'd love to ask you guys the question. Fans want to see something that's unpredictable. There needs to be a level of, you go to a race and you support your team, and you can see everyone here is wearing, different T-shirts showing different allegiances. You don't want to go there knowing that your team's always going to lose or something. You want to go there thinking you're going to see a great race. You hope that your guy wins or your team wins. And my view is that can only happen if you limit the resources that can be used. And then the revenue side takes care of itself, because if you've got an exciting sport, then all the tools are there, the broadcasters are interested, the TV money comes in, and all the other avenues are there. And that's my...
I hope you get that. I attended my first F1 race, I think in 1977. I was 6 years old. My father was a corner worker at the Long Beach Grand Prix when it was actually a Grand Prix. And the argument has been the same almost since then.
Yeah,
and to be fair, this has been a spectacular year, has it not?
Yeah.
The last few years have been getting a little boring.
Yeah.
This has been a great year, so I hope they can continue in that vein. We have time for just a couple of questions before we bring the drivers out. I'll just go in the order I see them. Yes, sir?
Yep.
To strike the balance between the money pit, the technology, and a guy like Adrian Newey in the sport versus a guy like Colin Chapman used to be. As far as I'm concerned, this is the innovation. What could we do as far as the Concorde to open up like the old Can-Am series we used to have here? Great series, but I saw him race at Riverside, California. The question is, one sort of on my question too, what change in the Concorde Agreement would be made to sort of enhance technology, but also protect the sport as well? Graham? It's a good question.
Yeah, it is. It's a good question, Roger, and it's the one that that Formula One faces. And I kind of go back to the last answer, which is I do believe that controlling the resources is the area that it's got to be at. So I think Bernie likes to characterize it in that we shouldn't have a sport where you can just buy performance success, if you like. So rather than controlling costs, it's a case of forget really how much revenue a team can get. Just create a formula where the cleverest guys are going to move forward, not the richest guys. And I think that can be achieved in the framework of the new Concord.
And it's already underway, that process.
Yes, sir, right here.
Over the last, the recent changes, the tires, etc., the people who are complaining right now are the Red Bulls and the McLarens. And we fans are really excited to see all the competition, to see all other privateers win. Williams to win after like 7 years. It's fantastic. And in this economy and in this market, how do you guys try to generate more revenue and stay afloat, find new sponsors? What are some of your challenges?
Well, we're coming back onto the commercial argument again, and I think there is an imbalance in Formula One today. A lot of the teams, I would class them as benefactor teams. They're not profitable in their own right. I think that's a very dangerous path to go down. It's not dissimilar to issues you had in American sport with football, baseball that we have with
Well,
the
they have
Premier.
most of them have salary caps. Do we need a lower hard salary cap, a la football or basketball or baseball? Really?
Well, obviously, because we've got our drivers here, we'd agree with you completely.
Minus driver pay. Do we need seriously? Do we need to set it?
No, I don't think we need a cap in terms of salaries. I think what we do now, I completely agree with Graham on this one. We need to be able to get the costs under control. That can be done through resource restriction. We don't want to stop innovation because that's what Formula One is all about. But we've got to make it so that it can be a profitable program, because to rely on your owners or your benefactors to come through is not long-term viable. And Formula One needs to look at itself very strongly on that. And also that comes back into the share, as we've talked about before, of revenues and things. All that will get taken care of, I think, in the future.
Do we need more cars? Should we have a 30-car grid?
No, I don't think we can do 30 cars. The circuits, many of the circuits that we've got wouldn't be able to cope with those on the pit lanes and things like that. I think 24 is absolutely where it's at.
Yes, sir, over here.
Comes back to what I was talking about before, on the commercial side, when I was asked if I was Bernie for the day. And I think that we need to look at taking away some of the onus of the promoters, where we can keep the promoters profitable and doing exactly what you're talking about, understanding, embracing. I don't think Formula One does a good job of embracing the new social media technologies. And I think you're absolutely right in what you're saying. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're going to bring the drivers out, and I take complete blame for being a little bit late and having to cut a little bit short. So my apologies to everybody again. I would have jet-packed here if I could. Maybe that'll be the next invention of F1. But I would like to give a hand to both Bob and Graham for spending some time with us. Wish you all the best success this year. I think it's in everybody's best interest to see more crowding at the front of the grid.
Yeah.
We're going to be pulling for you.
And we'll
Still got
hold it.
CNBC on the car a little bit, or what?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
We like that. And by the way, there is there's an app, but it's, what is it, like $29 for the F1 app?
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't set the price, but yeah, I agree, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Don't
Hold up, yeah, we got. All right, drivers are ready. We got to go. We'll call Bernie up right after this. Thank you all very much.
That's guys.
Thank you, Graham. Again, my apologies for being late. We got a lot in a short time. We did.